Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Kounin. I'm going to be talking about Jacob Kounin and his educational theories of group management. All right, so the slideshow should be up on the screen. Let me just get it working here, and we'll get started from the beginning. All right, so, whoa, hold on. Jacob Kounin, theories of group management. Jacob Kounin was a teacher. Then he became interested in academic research, got his doctorate in philosophy from Iowa State, started getting interested in academic research, and came up with a huge number of different ideas on classroom group management, which grouped together we call the Jacob Kounin's theories of group management. I'm going to talk about three main ideas and a few smaller ones, but mostly going to focus on his three most famous ideas. All these ideas were published in his book in the mid-70s called Classroom Management. All right, back to his bio. So Jacob Kounin earned his doctorate in philosophy from Iowa State. Yeah, kind of cool story about how he was motivated to get into academic research. So he was teaching in the late 1950s when he asked a student to put away a newspaper. And he noticed that when he asked the student to put away the newspaper, the other students around him also began to behave a little bit better, right? And this was the initial incident that led to all of Kounin's many theories and ideas about classroom management and group management, right? So he was a very prolific writer, wrote in a ton of journals. It was very easy to find sources on Jacob Kounin. Yeah, his book was called Discipline and Group Management in Classrooms. He published all of his findings together in the mid-70s. But again, we're going to talk about his three main ideas, right? And the first one of those is going to be the ripple effect. But anyways, more than just ideas, though, Kounin was a visionary. He tried to promote this concept that that teachers aren't just handing. Tried to convince teachers that their job wasn't just to transfer knowledge, but that job would be easier if they also acted as effective classroom managers. He had this vision of a teacher not only as someone who just lecture at the students, but someone who could get them interested and paying attention through good classroom management. All right, so he studied many different techniques of classroom management, and he, again, like I said, he was a visionary. He was one of the first to believe that education and discipline had to be integrated together, right? And what he called classroom management. So his three main ideas, his three biggest ideas, one of them has to do with actual classroom management itself and disciplinary techniques, and the other two are traits that Kounin thought should be present in every good teacher. We're going to talk about the first one first, the ripple effect, which is a classroom management phenomenon, right? This goes back to the newspaper that got Kounin so interested in teaching. When teachers correct one student for a misbehavior, other students around it are watching and are less likely to misbehave. Right? So the opposite is also true. But Kounin was the first one to notice and document this phenomenon in 1958. And this is where his career started. This was a famous observation, the ripple effect. So use a practical example from our classroom today. I don't think you would probably catch anyone reading a newspaper, but you might catch someone on their phone. If you tell them to put their phone away, you'll probably notice that other students will also put their phone away. That's Kounin's ripple effect, and we can use it as teachers to our advantage, right? All you got to do is tell one student affirmatively to put the phone away, and others around them are less likely to misbehave, right? Next, now we're going to talk about two traits that Kounin thought are essential to a good classroom manager, a good teacher, right? So overlapping. This is a term that Kounin used to describe teachers' ability to multitask, right? Especially when it comes to classroom management. So let's use an example. Let's say you're leading a group activity and you notice a student in the back on their phone, right? Do you stop the whole group activity to correct the one student on their phone, or do you walk on over, kind of, you know, teacher-like, and hint at them to put their phone away without stopping the whole activity? Obviously, the second one. This is overlapping. You're multitasking. You're running the classroom effectively while continuing the lesson. All right. The students have to know that the teacher can divide their attention and focus on them individually if they misbehave. Right. Kounin saw this as a very critical aspect of teaching. Another thing, and this is one that Kounin kind of came up with on his own, he made up this word called withedness, right? And he was using it to describe teachers who were consistently in tune with the discipline and management needs of their class. So, withedness, a teacher with good withedness is a teacher with the ability to always crack down on the wrong behaviors at the right time, right? It's kind of a combination of charisma and effective classroom management practices, right? And it comes from experience, right? So to put it more simply, teachers with good withedness have eyes in the back of their heads because they know when to apply classroom management discipline and when not to, and they always use it at the right time, right? And teachers that display this quality are far more likely to succeed in the challenges of the classroom, especially in terms of classroom management. All right, so that's another one of Kounin's ideas. We've gone through his big three ideas here, which is the ripple effect, overlapping, and withedness. Right. So now we're going to talk about some of his other theories that are not as famous, but still very important. All right, so Kounin was one of the first to identify the importance of transitions in the classroom. He called it momentum, classroom momentum, and it's not like what you would think it was. It was not. It's not like moving around, physically moving around a classroom. It's like intellectually chaining together activities and lessons that make sense, and it's all about transitions to Kounin, right? So the teachers who were able to move academically from one lesson to the next and maintain academic momentum were far better at managing their classroom and at managing misbehaviors. Kounin was one of the first to write down that momentum is extremely important in the classroom, right? Also, Kounin made some observations that about discipline and styles, right? So he was categorizing two different kinds of discipline: threatening versus supportive. Threatening discipline would be, I'm going to use an example here of a student showing up late to class. Let's say a student shows up late to class and the teacher goes, "Hey, I see that you're late to class. I'm going to make sure your grade reflects that." That is a threatening discipline style. On the other hand, what if a teacher goes, "Hey, I see you're late to class. Would you like the work that you missed?" Kounin noticed that the supportive style, the second one, was far more productive. That students with supportive teachers showed more motivation and were more focused and on task, whereas students with threatening teachers, with threatening discipline styles, were usually a little bit more confused and less motivated, right? Now, to the modern educational mind, this is kind of a given, but in the 60s and the 70s, this is groundbreaking stuff, right? All right, so how do we apply all of Kounin's ideas? All right, one more recap: the ripple effect, overlapping, withedness, transitions, and discipline styles. How do we apply it to our classroom? Right? It's best applied in a general classroom setting and as disciplinary guidelines. So Kounin's ideas, his theories of group management, make sense. And even then, I read in one of the sources that even when Kounin was coming up with these theories of group management, teachers were already using them, even though Kounin hadn't written them down. These things just kind of make sense. It's a general classroom setting guideline, the theories of group management. However, it does not serve as an entire system of discipline. I wouldn't recommend looking for an entire system of discipline in Kounin's theories of group management, because his theories are kind of scattered from the research. Like, you have what traits that make a good teacher and a phenomenon in a classroom. They're kind of all over the place. So just keep Kounin's theories of group management in mind when you're building your own system of discipline, but don't base it off Kounin's theories. Entirely off Kounin's theories is what I mean to say, because Kounin's theories are kind of specific to particular situations, right? And another instance I thought of where Kounin's theories could be not so good is if you have a serious problem student. Let's talk about the ripple effect. Great technique if your classroom is generally motivated, but there's a few minor miscreants. But if you have a serious problem student, the ripple effect is probably not going to prevent them from misbehaving. In that case, you need to find another solution. Again, just to recap, his ideas are great. His theories of group management are outstanding. They make sense. They're modern, and they work. But they're best applied in a general environment. All right. And for sources, I use I read mostly Kounin's journals. He had quite a lot of articles and a dissertation talking about how his theories compared to other theories. All right. So to conclude the this presentation, Jacob Kounin was a educational theorist who came up with these ideas in the 50s and 60s that have become, through his book Discipline and Group Management in Classrooms, that's his groundbreaking work, his ideas have become almost taken for granted, right? Especially with the discipline, the discipline styles, and threatening versus supportive, and the importance of transitions, right? So Kounin is a highly influential educational thinker, and I would highly recommend reading some of his articles in the journals. Thank you very much, and y'all have a good night.